Like to call to order the 73rd meeting of the 40th Council, August 25th, 2025. And the first order of business is a moment of reflection. Thank you. Next is additions and approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Stimson, seconded by Councillor Shine. Resolved that the agenda for the 73rd meeting of the 40th Council be approved as presented. In favor? Carried. Next order of business is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. It can be declared now or any time during the meeting. Next is the minutes from the previous meeting, minutes from the July 28th, 2025 meeting. Moved by Councillor Shine, seconded by Councillor Stimson. Resolved that the minutes of the 72nd meeting of the 40th Council held July 28th, 2025 be adopted as written. In favor? Carried. Is there any matters arising from these minutes anyone would like to discuss? Yes, Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Just a couple of items. First of all, the strategic implementation. Clerk Bates and I did manage to have a discussion last week, and we should have some recommendations going ready for the next meeting. And also following up on that, one of the things that was discussed as well at the last meeting were audits and when those might be completed. So do we have we reached out? Have we made any resolution on that?
So unfortunately, Treasurer Coulson is unable to attend today's meeting. She has received the financial statements. I did reach out to John today, but he wasn't able to get back to me. So I don't have a date when they're coming, but I know the conversations are happening, and she does have the financial statements. So now it'll just be a matter of scheduling a date. And we're hoping to probably do a special meeting of council so that we don't have to wait until like hopefully soon.
Great, thank you very much.
Anybody else? Okay, nothing else. So we'll move to delegations. We're lucky today to have Steve DeRocco, account manager from MPAC, and the floor is yours, Steve.
Okay, good. I think we're good. All right, excellent. All right, my name's Steve DeRocco, account manager for Municipal Property Assessment Corporation. I've been in APAC for about 26 years, about 10 years in this role. And I'm responsible for liaising with the municipalities, local roads and services boards, DSABs, school boards, within the districts of Kenora and Rainy River. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. Tell you a little bit more about what MPAC is and what we do. And I can't change slides. There we go. MPAC, or the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, is the legislated property assessment and classification authority in Ontario. Our job is to assess and classify the value of over 5.7 million properties across the province and provide an accurate and impartial property inventory. So in 2024, we did add more than $42.7 billion in new assessment, which was added to the entire inventory of the value that exceeds about $3 trillion as of 2024 of all properties of Ontario. Now, Ontario's property and assessment taxation system, there are 4 key players, and all of them have a different role and interest in this process. Now, one is first we start off, we'll look at the Ontario government, which establishes the province's assessment and taxation laws and determines the education tax rates. Then we have MPAC, that's me. We determine the property classifications and assessments for all properties in Ontario, in accordance with the legislation set out by the Government of Ontario. In municipalities, they determine the revenue requirements and set municipal tax rates and collect property taxes to pay for all of those municipal services. Now, property owners pay property taxes and fund community services and education rates, taxes that fund the public schools. So as you may be aware, the Ontario government is conducting a review of the property assessment and taxation system and has committed to pausing on a province-wide assessment update until that review concludes. The review is focusing on a system-level review of fairness, affordability, and impact of property taxes and business competitiveness. We do continue to share the government's interest in ensuring the transparency and fairness of property tax and assessment system, and recognize that its continuous improvement benefits everyone in Ontario. As our commitment to this continuous improvement, we are contributing our assessment expertise and experience to the review when called upon. As we do work with the province throughout this review, we are focused on reaffirming the importance of regular assessments, improving the exchange and information with our municipal partners, and building enhanced products and services that meet the needs of our partners and the communities we serve. I did want to just take a snapshot of our work in a non-assessment update year. I just have a few numbers here. Like we do have, I did mention before, we added $42.7 billion of new assessment to the municipal rolls. We did approximately 284,000 of property inspections last year. And that inventory of total properties in Ontario is 5.7 million and climbing. We had 129,737 interactions with our customer contact center. We processed 423,383 sales transactions. And we also had, we have property assessment notice that we mail out. We actually, a very complicated process is the 18,959 severances and consolidations we processed last year. And we also went through almost 200,000 building permits, almost 13,000, well, 12,500 of requests for reconsiderations. And of course, municipal engagements like this council meeting, we did 1,865 of them. Ontario's property tax system is based on everyone paying their portion of what it costs to deliver community services. To do this, all properties are assigned a value at a common valuation date. Now for this assessment cycle, it's January 1st, 2016. This principle is called current value assessment. Now this is the price a property might reasonably expect it to sell for if sold by a willing seller to a willing buyer after appropriate time and exposure on an open market. There are, I did want to talk briefly about the three approaches to value and property valuation. So how do we figure out what every property in Ontario would have sold for on that legislated valuation date? So this is something we call current value, which also means market value. In Ontario, there are three industry-wide standardized approaches to valuing properties. We have the direct comparison approach, or what we call the sales approach, the income approach, and the cost approach. The first of these approaches, which I mentioned, is the direct comparison approach, which is used primarily for residential properties, condos, and vacant land. With this approach, we analyze the sales of comparable properties that were sold for similar or identical use as the property to be valued to provide an indication of value. It is also important that only valid open market transactions are used in this analysis. There are 5 major factors when assessing residential properties, and that is the age of the building, the location of the property, the quality of construction, the exterior square footage of structures, and the lot dimensions. This makes up 85% of a property's value. After we assess a property or a change in assessment, we do mail the property owner a property assessment notice. Then there's the income approach. This one's a bit more complicated. We use this for industrial malls, office buildings, shopping centers, and a variety of other. With income-producing properties, the ability to earn revenue is directly tied to its current value. And to value these properties, we do need to determine how much revenue it could generate, as well as the sale price of a property. So to clarify, it's not the revenue being generated by the occupant, but rather the rent that the occupant is paying to the landlord that we use to value properties in the income approach. This method requires a detailed analysis of income and expenses, both for property being valued and other similar properties, to determine how much a property could be expected to generate, how much income a property could be expected to generate if sold on the open market. So analyzing the relationship between income and sale price allows us to calculate or generate what we call capitalization rates for the property by dividing the income by the sale price. So the income approach estimates the annual fair market rental income and other potential income that can be generated by the property. Then we deduct the expenses and apply the capitalization rate to the net income to arrive at what an estimate of what the CVA or current value for the property would be. Lastly, we have the cost approach, and this is typically used for general purpose industrial properties, small retail, gravel pits, and warehousing, just to name a few. This approach is used when a property type is unique and rarely sold on the open market, as we cannot rely on either the direct comparison approach or income approaches to determine its current value, and that's due to lack of sales data. Now, the cost approach is a three-step process. First, we calculate the cost of replacing the buildings or structures or other accessible fixtures on the land. Then we apply a deduction for the depreciation on any buildings or structures due to the age, functional or economic conditions that can impact the value of the property. Some might recognize words like economic obsolescence or functional obsolescence. Finally, we determine the value of the land and add it to the calculations to produce an overall valuation. So the relationship between property value and taxes, when a property, we have a lot of calculations that go into this, but if we want to boil it down just to your basic numbers that are generated by our assessments, we take those assessments and their property values that were provided by MPAC, that we give to the municipalities. And we multiply, and then you multiply that by the municipal and education tax rates for your property type, and of course, that equals the property taxes everyone pays. Now, when a province-wide assessment update occurs, the most important factor is not how much the assessed value of a property has changed, but rather how the assessed value has changed relative to the average change in that tax class. So I think what I'm trying to really say is that, let's say an entire neighborhood or a whole class of property, like residential properties, will go up in the next province-wide assessment update. And some people want to focus on my property went up 100% or 50%, but in reality, what did your property go up compared to the same properties in your class? And what happens is, in these assessment updates, is that most of the residential properties will go up at the same rate. So, and the assessments actually distribute taxes. They don't really determine the taxes that are paid. That's more municipalities' revenue needs. So I hope that was clear. We can talk about that a little later if you want. I do want to touch on some new, we have a new insights campaign that we launched this year. Some of you may have seen it on social media posts or at AMO or at NOMA. The campaign focuses on how residential property, the residential property landscape has evolved in the last decade, specifically the housing inventory. What we've learned this year is that year-over-year price increases are driving buyers to look at communities further outside of the GTA. There are communities, if there are communities with homes under 500,000, those are becoming increasingly scarce. And the type and location of homes with a value of less than 750,000 has also shifted. So what does this mean? It means there are limited options for first-time home buyers. In 2013, if we zoom back, if we go all the way back to 2013, 74% of residential properties in Ontario had a home value estimate of less than $500,000. 91% of homes had a value of less than $750,000. Now today those numbers have dropped, so we have just 19% of residential properties under 500,000, 48% under 750. Now reasons for this drop, what are the reasons for this drop in available homes under 500,000? And current home prices are a reflection of various economic forces at play. Factors like supply and demand, increased construction and labor costs, plus inflation are all part of what's driving these housing prices. To find properties for less than 500,000, potential buyers can look to cities such as Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, North Bay, Thunder Bay, even Windsor. While homes under 750,000 can still be found in cities such as Ottawa, London, Kitchener, Kingston, Barrie, and Peterborough. We do hope that data like this will help property owners understand the changing real estate landscape and where they can look to find housing opportunities throughout Ontario that may best suit future needs. Now, I have delivered to council, to the clerk, a report made Jason has right now. It's just about a residential markets, and it does include sales data, even for Atikokan. I think I said, Jason, there was about 9 sales just in the first quarter of this year. There were 13 sales in all of 2024. So if 9 were just in January, you can imagine what the rest of the year is going to look like. But it does touch on some statistics for all of Ontario for the residential market. That report can also be found on our website. Right now we have 2024 up, just the Q3 and Q4 of 2024, and then we have Q1 of 2025 for this year, but that's at MPAC.ca, first page. Municipal Connect. It's one of the most important ways we support all of the 444 municipalities in Ontario, and we provide them with access to Municipal Connect, which is a sophisticated data sharing platform. MPAC launched it back in 2001 with the goal of providing municipalities with information about their assessment base to have it at their fingertips. Municipal staff and consultants use this platform to manage their assessment base for taxation purposes. They can monitor changes, trends in property values in their region, create custom reports based on a wide range of search criteria, and can download dozens of MPAC-made data products. I was telling Jason today we can also monitor building permits and building permit activity. Municipal Connect contains up-to-date information on over 5 million properties in Ontario and averages around 1,500 users a day. So we are delivering on, also we have Municipal Connect, Municipal Connect requests from municipalities, like custom requests, like changes to our software. And we do have new data products that are now available in Municipal Connect because of that. We offer what we call the MPAC Data Report. That is a new unique report that offers on-demand access to property-specific information that doesn't rely on supplier-owned data to help support informed decision-making and proactive planning, meaning that MPAC isn't the only provider of data in Municipal Connect, right? We have TerraNet, we have the Ministry of Natural Resources. So if we deliver a product that only has MPAC information, it just lets the municipality do a little more work with that data. Like for example, certain projects, right? Without crossing any lines that other agreements would be. There are other agreements in place. That's The other piece of software that we have is called About My Property. Now, we have three main tools for sharing our data. One for property owners, one for municipalities, and one for our business partners. Now, About My Property is a tool for everyone in Ontario. It's an online tool available through MPAC.ca, where property owners can see information we have on file about their property and learn more about how we assess their property and compare their assessments to others in the area. It is also where we share more detailed information with property owners about our work. We publish a methodology guide. We also publish a market valuation report. And we also have property-specific details that together explain how we determine the property's assessed value. This is part of our commitment to clearly, openly, and explain the property assessment process and how we arrive at our values. This is where owners can easily also file a request for reconsideration, and it is the fastest way to actually file and track a request for reconsideration. And I am super sorry if I've gone way too fast. I think I was scared of taking up too much time. But that's all I have. Are there any questions?
Councillor Shine.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. So when you're talking about comparisons, so for comparisons from Atikokan, are you comparing us to other municipalities the same size, with the same businesses and the same amount of properties, or do you actually come here and compare our neighborhoods?
Yes, it's local, a local model. Our model is divided into neighborhoods. So what we would do for Atikokan is we would try and use the Atikokan sales throughout the years to do a direct comparison. And if I heard you right, if I understand you correctly, you're talking about comparison through our approach to valuation, right? Not like if someone wanted to draw comparable sales for their property. But yes, we try to do it as local as possible. For both waterfront, waterfront has a separate model, and then residential has its own model as well, non-waterfront. So yes, as local as we can. If we don't have enough sales to support that, I believe there are sometimes we do go outside. We try and broaden the area of search for sales, but we haven't had a problem with sales for the number of sales or quality sales in this area, so it hasn't happened. But it's all been local data, and for the next reassessment, because we have so many years to draw upon, there'll be a lot of sales and a lot of information to hopefully build a very accurate model.
Jason, did you want to say?
Yeah, if I could. If and when the province does decide to do a reassessment, do we have any indication of when the evaluation date would be? And if it's, because 2016 was the last one, right? Now, obviously, we had the COVID years. Is there a standard about how many years back will they pick that evaluation date?
That's a very good question, Jason. I don't have any information on that. I haven't been given any hints from the Ministry of Finance to what they're even looking at. I know that, I'll tell you what was planned for the last reassessment before I got canceled. The evaluation date was going to be January 1st, 2019. And I think that's what it was. And it was going to be a year earlier than it usually was, because January 1st, 2016 is our evaluation date, and then we released the values in January 1st, 2017. I think that it would have been, we were trying to get it in the middle, but that never happened. So I think it would have been actually January 1st, 2018. And maybe it was trying to get into the middle of where that data was, because we had collected 4 years of data by that time. But now, I really couldn't say. I can't speak for the Ministry of Finance, what they're looking at. I don't know how many years the cycle is going to be even. So, yeah.
Yes, Councillor Johnson.
That's a good question. I don't have those numbers in front of me right now. It wouldn't be prudent to quote something like that. But we do have one of the largest databases in the world as far as property values and property assessment. We do have when we go to a property, like, for example, there are multiple different types of waterfront. You can have grass, you can have sand, you can have rock, and different types of roads in front of your property, right? So all those, there are many other factors, you know, that make up, you know, even what your property abuts to. I'm just trying to pull the little things out of my head that I know about, but, right, you're abutting a busy intersection, for example, or we've decided that that may have an influence on the property value, but it depends what comes into play. But we do collect a lot of data per property, so I can get back to you on that, but I don't have an exact answer for you right now. But at one point, we actually made a speech, a presentation to, I think it was a tech conference, that we had one of the largest Oracle databases, and this was probably 10 years ago, going back 10 years, but because we, you know, and we were invited to speak just because we had such a large database. We were in the record books for something, but that's how much data we collect per property. So there's a lot going there, but yeah, those are the top 5 that I for sure know about.
Yes, Councilor Shaw.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. And maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. If I'm not mistaken, when we were at a few meetings ago, was not MPAC supposed to have things on hold for 5 years, and then they were going to start the reprocess of bringing MPAC back? So once you go through all these new assessments, is the government going to take into consideration how many years we haven't had one? And do you have any idea what the significant increase will be to our residential areas? Like,
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we did the pause, it was because of the COVID, and there wasn't really given, weren't really given a date as to when we were going to reconvene on the reassessment. So it wasn't like I don't think the Ford government or the Ministry of Finance was very specific on when they were going to do an assessment update. All I know is it just never got announced. And we keep waiting, you know, to hear an announcement from them. But we are not given any specific information from the Ministry of Finance. I never have been given any information on when that might happen, or what the dates would be, or how many years of sales would be included in the analysis. So I wish I could answer your question, but I don't have any of that information. I've never been given any of that information.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Simpson.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. I got a question for Jason, I think. When you just said something there, when you were asking when the new assessment would be, and did you say something about how many years we can go back or something? Or
So, as Steve had said, I think that they're going to base it on an evaluation date, right? So let's just say they choose Jan 1, 2022. So they're going to basically say that, you know, what was your property valued at January 1, 2022? We all know that the real estate market in Atikokan has, you know, I would say, done very well in the last year or so. So if they pick Jan 1, 2021, you might think, well, my house is worth more, but it's that snapshot in time. So the question is, when will the province decide on what that evaluation date is? We really don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah. I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if we have many years of data to pull from, so hopefully it'll paint a very accurate picture of what the value of all properties should be.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Steve, I got a few, jotted down a few things. So as we all know and we discussed, the prices in Atikokan have gone up. So the assessment on my house, if I sold my house, would that affect my assessment, my current assessment?
So yeah, no, it would not, and that's why we talk about a valuation date of January 1st, 2016. So if you sold your house now and the new owner said, hey, look, this house, we paid this much money for it, that sale is not included in a current analysis. It would be used for the next assessment, reassessment.
So I heard you say that you keep a running total on, and you know that the price is what. that doesn't affect.
That's right, we
Current
can't,
value.
yeah, once you're in an assessment cycle, that's why we have that valuation date, that legislated valuation date. So all houses right now are valued at a valuation date of January 1st, 2016.
Okay, thanks.
Even a brand-new house just built.
Okay, so that was the first one. You talked about depreciation on rental properties or something. How low would it depreciate? Like sometime, like a building sometimes, or something you write off so much, 10% a year. Could it go down to zero then? Is that?
Well, we have depreciation factors mostly for cost, the cost approach. So like a mine or a mill or any industrial property, right? And we have, I guess you could say there's limits to depreciation, right? But we decide each property on what that depreciation is. So one is age, right? So age has its own depreciation. And I don't think it would ever go to zero, but I'm not sure. I've never seen that. So I can't speak for a valuation analyst right now, but for example, economic obsolescence, we would decide on what an economic obsolescence is for gold mines. Maybe another one for, you know, a different alloy, right? Or functional obsolescence would be more in the line that if I built this new mill, I wouldn't build it the same way. I wouldn't include what's in there right now, and therefore maybe that section gets a little bit of a depreciation or discount, and that's what we call functional obsolescence. But I don't see that going to, I've never seen it go to zero.
Because there's been people talking about building an apartment building, and they build an apartment building next door to a 25-year-old apartment building, but it's the same rent, the same everything, but the new building's gonna pay a lot more taxes than the old building. Is that correct?
I really can't speak to rental rates. I'm not sure about what that is or how there is, I would need a specific example. And even that, I probably wouldn't be able to speak to it, so I'm not really sure.
Okay, and last question, and it's about my property. So I could go on there and view my property information, right?
Yes, you can.
Can I go on there and view anybody's property information?
Not anyone's, no.
How do you
So what
get
happens?
that info? How do you get in there?
So you get in with your property information from your property assessment notice.
Okay.
If you don't have that notice, you can call MPAC. You can call us. We do have, you can email us, you can text us, but there are ways communicating with MPAC.ca. We do have a call center, and you can talk to someone there, and they can get you set up on About My Property. On About My Property, you have access to the details of your own property, but there is a way to get comparables to see what other properties are worth, not like who owns it or, you know, and maybe when it's sold. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't been on About My Property for a little while, but you can see the value of that of neighboring properties just to compare it to your own. But mostly it's about seeing the address, you know, you're clicking on the address of that property and the value. You're not going to get that detailed information about them.
Okay, yeah, because there's people are curious, right?
Right, for sure, for sure. And well, yeah, it helps people, you know, when they're doing a request for reconsideration, you want to build a list of comparables to see, you know, is my property valued, you know, within the same framework as other properties, right? So.
And just one, you did talk about this, or it was in your slides, is just because we do a reassessment of everybody in town and your property's worth twice as much as it was in 2016, doesn't mean your taxes are going to double. I think that's what people are worried about.
Yeah, that's great.
Because it's your assessment times the tax rate equals how much you pay, right? So
Exactly.
that's just, doesn't mean necessarily it's gonna double.
Yeah, I hope I conveyed that clearly. I was mumbling and stumbling and through that one, but yeah, basically it's, you know, and it's hard to explain without a good graphic, but we have some videos on our YouTube channel at MPAC that actually explain it really well. But I was trying to say that, yeah, exactly. Just because if there is an assessment update and properties do go up in value, which we are expecting, right? I think everyone knows their property is worth more than it was now than it was in 2016. So if it does jump, there's a really good chance that everyone else in the same sort of class of your house or property also jumped at that percentage. And therefore, you would still be paying the same, same amount of taxes. And again, it's the municipalities, revenue requirements that sort of dictate how much, people are paying taxes, so.
And I think that's one of the reasons, sorry, Counselor, I don't know if you have your hand up. That's one of the things when people talk about the tax rate in Atikokan is high, is because the assessment is really low. So to make up for that, that's why our rate is higher than other places. Doesn't necessarily mean we're paying more taxes, but like, for instance, I got no problem saying, my house is assessed at $89,000. So that's to make the proper how much I pay, the tax rate has to be higher. But if my house was assessed at $150,000, then the tax rate would be lower to get that money. So it is.
Right, and there's a good chance that people who have a very similar house to you are also assessed at $89,000, right?
Right.
So it is, you're very correct that there is a certain percentage that the municipality will multiply by the assessment to get them the revenue they need to run the municipality, right? So, yeah, very accurate, yeah.
Okay. And that's the end of my questions. Anybody else have anything for Steve? You can also, at NOMA, there's usually, MPAC has a talk, and you might think you have something better to do, but you can go to the NOMA presentation and Steve will have more details.
I'll be at the booth. Yeah. You know what, I also, I'll try to speak at the Rainy River District Municipal Association meeting. I'll try to do the presentation. It might be similar to this. It depends what happens between now and then. But I'll be there. Obviously, we don't have a booth there. But Laura and I, my manager, Laura Volte, she's the regional manager. She might be there. But we'll try and get something there. But we do try and get out. But NOMA's the big one. I'll be there with a booth if anyone remembers me next April. So yeah, I'll be there.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, Steve. Appreciate it. And Steve's got to hit the road here, so you're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting. But if you have you want to get going again,
and I'll leave a copy of the insights in the mailroom, so you guys can feel free to take it at your leisure.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. Yep. Thanks, Steve. Good to see you again. Okay, we'll move along to Committee of the Whole reports, and the first one is Finance and Financial Period ending July 31st. Go ahead, Jason.
Brandy is unable to attend today. I will do my best to answer any questions or take notes and get back to you. And this is ending, I believe, ending July 31st.
So it's a little more than half.
Correct, yes.
It's 7/12 of the year.
Sure.
Okay. Any questions? Anything anybody wants to talk about? I think it's all pretty straightforward. I just wanted one thing pointed out on user fees, because we have been making some extra money, so that's why the user fees are substantially higher than what they were last year. Okay. Seeing nothing, we'll move on to project updates.
Once again, just a general update on the capital items. Any specific questions, we'll do our best to answer. And as requested by council, later next month, I will be bringing a CO report with input from all the department heads, which will go into a little more detail on certain items, but we will do our best to answer any questions you have today.
I just have one for Tyler, the Mud Lake Dam. Is that happening this year?
No, I sure hope so. Waiting on work permits from the MNRF.
Okay, I'm just, and I know it's living down in Lone Pine, it's an issue going back and forth, and if they're gonna be working on that, I just, hate to see if we're doing any heavy trucks going on the new fresh pavement there. Okay. Yes, Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Just looking over the financials for the capital projects for this year, and I can appreciate that, you know, obviously billing takes place generally after construction season, but it's showing that only approximately 5 to 6% of our allocated budget is spent so far, and we're getting close to the end of our construction window. Do we have any insight onto that?
I think for the larger amounts, again, like you said, with the large projects, right, that it's a matter of delay in billing. I would say that you're going to see a significant amount by the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's timing for the most part.
And I guess in follow-up to that, are there any projects that are not on track? And I understand that you'll provide more detail at the next meeting, but maybe Tyler, if you could speak to any that, you know, are delayed or we might be looking to defer until next year?
Like we said in a previous report here that I submitted, that a couple of our projects were significantly over their tendered value, so we're looking at reapproaching those in the winter. Hopefully getting like early season pricing and for better, so.
Okay. Thank you.
I think there's some big numbers that kind of skew that percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the road construction, sewer and
Absolutely.
water, and those things kind of skew the numbers.
Agreed, yeah.
I didn't hear all your answer, Tyler. Is there anything on here that isn't going to happen this year?
Yeah, like we explained previously, those couple projects that we had tendered out that came in significantly over budget will not be being completed until probably next season. We'll be taking another kick at the can, see if we can get something more preferable.
As well, an update on the Mackenzie Bridge, I guess, as well, right?
Yeah, I don't have a good update on that right now.
And then just to add to, I'm kind of going through the list, in regards to the pool deck. So I did meet with the pool staff. We had some conversations regarding that. The challenge becomes that for the contractor to come in to do the deck, they need the pool emptied, which apparently you can't do in the winter. It has something to do with the water table and that. So we will be asking to defer that money and it'll probably be like a 2-month closure of the pool, which for the staff, they say July and August is the best. And at the same time, we'll be setting up probably painting the bottom of the pool, which hasn't happened in a handful of years, and probably adding to next year's budget some additional work inside the building. So this money will definitely be put towards a pool deck. It will not happen this year, but it'll be part of a bigger renovation project happening in 2026.
Yes, Councillor Stimson.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. I'm just wondering, when is the deadline for the O'Brien Street? The money we got to do, all the paving we were supposed to do, all these side streets and all this stuff. When's it up?
So for the grant portion, it is later in 2026.
2026?
2025, just to give ourselves that window.
Okay.
So we're not jeopardizing any of the grant funding.
Okay, I was under the impression it had to be done by the end of this year.
Yes,
Okay.
that was the plan, but we are not, like I said, not jeopardizing the funding.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Another question for Jason, just in follow-up to what you had said about the pool. Will we be exploring opportunities to seek grant funding to supplement some of the funding that we have in reserves for the pool deck or any other upgrades?
Yes, exactly. Good point. And I think that we can utilize the 65,000 towards our portion. So if we have an opportunity to leverage more funds, sure, absolutely. But we have to build that project,
Absolutely.
right? So, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else on that? Oh, sorry, Councillor Martin.
Thanks, Mayor Ferguson. This is regarding the culvert. I see we got 471 listed in there. Is the culvert, are they still working on the culvert, Tyler? Like, so there's grass growing right to the edge. What's gonna stop the grass cutters from, is there anything gonna be put in there so people don't fall off the edge of, I know there's a walking path there with guardrails, but there's no, after that, it's kind of a sheer drop off, correct?
Nobody should be back there.
Pardon?
Nobody should be back there.
Okay, okay, all right.
Well, it's kind of like we don't fence off the whole river through town, right?
Exactly.
I think to Councilor Martin's point, I think it's a different design, right? So we're used to the old culvert where it was that sheer drop, so we didn't have employees out there cutting the grass. And I understand how you're saying it kind of level and then drops off. But again, if we have grass cutters over there, they're very well aware of that, whether they're doing it by hand or with the mowers. But yeah, I think everyone just has to get used to the new design. Yeah.
Is that black material, silt catching material, is that gonna stay there, or could that be removed?
It'll be removed before the end of this season.
Yeah, okay, great. Nothing else from anybody? Great, so we'll move on to, keep Tyler on the hot seat, and we'll move on to Public Works, Airport Waste Management, CCTV contract.
These ones are easy ones though, so it's okay. Just three kind of housekeeping items on my end here. So the first one is our annual CCTV inspections and pipeline cleaning maintenance routine that we have. So we went out to tender, actually came in a bit under tender, which is a pleasant surprise these days. So we'll get a little bit of extra work done, and that'll be good.
Okay, we're gonna do that this year?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's in the budget?
Yes.
Great. Any questions on that? I think by moving forward on it, we have identified issues and we are staying on top of it and identifying what really needs to be done. So I will read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Stimpson, seconded by Councillor Shine. Resolve that council award the CCTV inspection contract to Cambrian Vacuum Corp. in the amount of $71,832.25, and further be it resolved that a bylaw to enter into an agreement with them will be presented at a future meeting. Any questions? In favor? Carried. And next is bylaw number 29-25, amending agreement, Automotive Materials Stewardship, Inc. Do you?
So another just kind of high-level housekeeping item here. We have an existing agreement with AMS already, so these are the people who help us recover some of our costs when we do our hazardous waste events. So these AMS in particular is for oils and antifreezes, things like that, anything automotive related. So they've added a couple nice features in there, like a minimum event payment where that wasn't in there before. Happy to address any specific questions, but.
Yes, Councillor Johnson.
They're under, depending on the propane tank, they would fall under pressurized cylinders, which would be under our next agreement, depending on if they're applicable.
And is there another day planned for this year?
Yeah, we'll be shooting for October 4th. We just got all that sorted out here, so you'll see a media blitz and everything coming soon.
Okay, great. Tyler? Councillor Shine, did you have something?
That answered my question.
Okay, thanks. So, moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Lyons. Resolve that bylaw number 29-25, being a bylaw to enter into an amending agreement with Automotive Materials Stewardship, Inc., be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. In favor? Carried. And lastly, bylaw number 30-25, an agreement Product Care Associations of Canada.
So Product Care basically is the new Stewardship Ontario. I think everybody's kind of more used to hearing that name. Again, just another entity who helps us recover costs for dealing with the municipal hazardous and special wastes that we have to deal with, so.
Great. Any questions for Tyler on this? Seeing nothing, moved by Councillor Lyons, seconded by Councillor Johnson. Resolve that bylaw number 30-25 being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Product Care Association of Canada be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. In favor? Carried. Great. Thanks, Tyler. Community Services, Schedule E, Community Services Fees. Report to Council.
Okay, so Brandy did do up a report to council, just kind of giving a bit of background in regards to the user fees. I know there's been a lot of discussion in this room with the current council regarding fees in general. So we did work through the community services fee, which was last changed, I believe, April 10, 2017. So it's been quite a few years for that. There's a lot of information to go through, which we can do. A couple of the points that Brandy had mentioned is some of these fees aren't exact. Like sometimes it's a matter of rounding. Sometimes it's when you're looking at, like, for example, like a child rate, sometimes it's nice to have an even amount for them because they're paying cash, for example. So there's some of that taking place. We're open to discussion regarding when it's effective. We have a small window right now between the golf season and then the winter registration. They are hosting the annual winter registration nights on September 9th and 10th. We do have a meeting on September 8th. If council is of the mindset, we can have these fees adopted on September 8th so that anyone registering on the 9th and the 10th will know the current fees. The other option is to forego raising fees until January 1. But again, you're always going to be in between seasons, so it is hard. But again, we're at the end of the golf season, so it's a great time for that one. And the hockey and the arena stuff is coming up soon as well. So I can answer specific questions. We can go through item by item. Generally, you'll see a minimum 10% increase across the board. And again, these are only recommendations. I mean, it's absolutely up to council what they want to see. We have taken some of the work our manager of community services had done previously, along with the treasurer. There are certain items where they've gone up. We're recommending a 15% increase. The ones more geared towards the youth and seniors, a 10% increase. But again, open to questions. The other thing that you'll notice is on the last few pages is historically we had what we would call it was a user group insurance fee, low risk. We can't do that. We're not insurance brokers. We don't sell insurance. We have to remove all of that from the fees bylaw. What happens is if they're a user group, we always ask for a certificate of insurance, which spreads out the liability. And then for the odd person renting the pool for a birthday party, the rental contract has them then covered under our policy. So even if there's a user group who wants to use the Hemlock Rink, we have to attach a small user fee to the rental because that forms that contract, which then allows them to be covered under our policy. But as a matter of housekeeping, we have to remove the user group insurance fees from the existing bylaw.
Any questions? I imagine you all had a chance to go over this with fine-tooth comb, so yes, Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Please bear with me because I did manage to go over it in a fine-tooth comb. It took a little bit of work, but got through it. So looking at the fees, I think we can all agree that we've kept our fees very low compared to other municipalities for a long time. And that's helped with access, but it also means that the general taxpayer in Atikokan's been covering more of the costs than in most places. And I think we can all agree that we're at a point where we need to strike a better balance. So, keep things affordable, especially for youth and seniors, but ask, others who use the facilities to contribute their fair share. So this is my thought, but the way I see it is we need to maybe look at some guiding principles on how to approach this. We can look at the across-the-board 10 or 15% increases, but I think it needs a little more nuance than that. From what I could see, like I have some proposed fee criteria, but just to give you some highlights, maybe our adult rate should be our baseline. Youth and seniors should pay less, but keep things affordable. Any non-residents, so say hockey teams from out of town or people hosting events here from out of town, should pay a bit more since they don't contribute to our tax base. Maybe we should be including daily maximums so that groups know the cost up front. And it was included, it was in there, I think, but deposits or cancellation rules should apply to social rentals, not necessarily to local sports, schools, or youth groups. If you'd like me to go through the criteria, I can propose. I'm happy to do that, or we can have further discussion outside.
From what I saw, I thought they captured most of the things that you were saying. We are upping, when it's strictly out-of-town teams, when an out-of-town team comes and plays an out-of-Coken team, they're not going to pay the extra, but
No.
if an out-of-town team plays another out-of-town team for a weekend, I think that's covered in here. I think we are giving seniors discounts. I think we are giving youth discounts. There's a lot of line items, so if you have some specific things, but
Yeah, I was looking at it more to try and streamline it because it is a pretty comprehensive fee schedule. Some of the criteria I'd be proposing is adults being that 100% baseline, potentially seniors 65 and up, 85% of the adult, but frozen, like the current fee is frozen until, if that's below the current seniors fee. Youth being 18 and under, and being 50% of the adult fee for drop-ins, clubs, schools, teams, but also frozen if it's currently below today's youth fee. And then, for example, youth facility rentals being social only, say birthday parties or that sort of thing, could be aligned with the seniors rate at 85%. Any non-residents, like the hockey teams coming in from out of town, maybe add another 10% with no discounts. Yeah, the deposits, having a damage deposit or a refundable damage deposit and a non-refundable cleaning deposit on facility rentals. And something else was maybe if we could look at our fees being tax inclusive when we're assessing them, and also rounding them so that we don't have like $1.77 and whatnot. I think that would go a long way. And also for timing, possibly looking at, because if we are looking to implement these for the winter season, a lot of the winter activities have already been planning, and even hockey, for example, has been advertising and signing up for the winter season. Maybe we need to look at the timing of these, where drop-in fees, maybe implement them immediately or January 1st. We could have the fees ready for the next golf season and the 2026 season for winter activities, depending on what council thinks.
speak to that, Jason?
Sure. So I'll work backwards. So for example, the hockey did reach out. So they did anticipate an increase this year. They knew it was coming. So they had taken that into consideration when they had set up their fees. The January one is a challenge just because of the seasonality of the different events, right? So we do have a small window again if we want to if we want to catch kind of in between, so that we're catching the arena and the pool, and then obviously next year for golf. We do. I think some of the suggestions you're proposing, they're great, but, and I'll be completely honest, I mean, we don't even have a manager of this department right now. So for the manager of community services to actually spend the amount of time to talk about what you're doing, and same with my finance department, right? I mean, we are still focusing on year end, and I mean, there's a lot of great financial analysis that we could do for all kinds of things in the municipality. The reality is we don't have the resources or the staff or the time to do that. The fact is, we heard council loud and clear that we need to update the fees And that was our goal, is to bring forward fees that could be implemented quite quickly. Not to say that there couldn't be further analysis. We are recommending annual increases, but every time that we bring it forward, I think would be an opportunity to slowly fine tune, you know, those certain things that are working or not working. So I think bite-sized pieces is probably the better way to go than to try and do what you're suggesting, which is, I think, partially the reason why, you know, here it is from 2017 to now without bringing forward some. So this was administration's goal, bringing this forward, was to kind of, you know, acknowledge the fact that there hasn't been increases for many years, and to get the ball rolling, sort of thing. Thank you.
Councillor Shine.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. So Jason, if we have any questions, say like in regards to the Bunnell Park and campgrounds, if we have questions that we want answers, should we be forwarding them to you and expect an answer before we decide on these increases?
Yeah, so the challenge will become timing-wise, right? Because if there's further discussion between now and the 8th, then we'll have to go committee of the whole again. We'll have to have a further discussion. And if there's major changes, if you want major changes, then we wouldn't be able to pass it on the 8th. We've missed that window, so then, you know, it's going to be changed later on. The hope and the intent was, giving this to you guys on last week, was for you to come with those questions now, that we could do those changes and have it presented on the 8th. But again, this is your fees bylaw. It gets passed when you're happy with it, and that can be later in the year if that's the case. But sorry, to answer your question, yes, email myself and Brandy and we'll get you the answers, absolutely.
No, it's just, I think I remember asking for it previously in regards to Bunnell Park. It's like, how many campers in a year do we get? How much is the actual income? How much is the actual cost of having them there every year? How much are we going to actually, do we require to upgrade it to? So
if you look at the top of each section, Brandy has put in red information kind of in an annual sort of format. So for Bunnell Park and Campgrounds, there's an annual surplus of $2,900, not talking about capital costs or custodian. When you go to the arena, there's an annual average deficit of over $300,000 a year, and that's not including capital costs. So some of that work has been done and presented, same as the curling, same as golf, right? Even golf, which we feel is kind of our, we have a great golf course and a lot of people use it, still run an annual deficit on.
I guess what I'm leading to is it worthwhile us keeping Bunnell Park when there's so many campgrounds around here and resorts that are offering that service for a surplus of only, say, $3,000?
And I understand your question, but I'd just like to not debate whether we keep Bunnell Park or not. We just concentrate on the fees that we're going to charge.
Well, if I interrupt, but that would be a budget question, right? So I mean, this is just the fees, right? I mean, I think your questions are valid, but I think they would be better answered or discussed during the budget process, where what is the plan for this particular property.
Yes, Councillor Stipson.
No, thank you, Mayor Ferguson. We pay our treasurer a good wage, and we should be respecting her stuff. I remember her saying many times, we should not be in the campground business. We're taking business away from the other places, Finlayson, and I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe we should take her advice and get rid of a campground, sell it to somebody if they want to buy it, or let people go to the people who make their living through the summer by doing stuff like this. I don't know. I agree with her. Brandy and I have butted heads before, but I agree with that. I don't think we should be in the campground business. In most places, recreational stuff is a lot of stuff with the community services is privately owned, but I know we can't do that here. But I just don't think we should be competing with other campground owners in the area. That's just my opinion.
So moving forward, I did go through this, and I did have some questions that I discussed with Jason. I think it's, I always, when we said we're waiting for a fees bylaw, waiting, and I just basically said, I can do it in a day, 10% increase, 2% a year after that. So they've taken that and used that, but they've also went to 15% on some, but they give discounts on others. So, and then the comparison to other municipalities, I know our fees are, even with this increase, are gonna be a lot less than other municipalities. But I think if you don't start, you'll never get finished, and this is moving forward, and I'm satisfied with this. I'm, you know, you could sit here and pick, you know, this should be $2 more and this should be $1 less, or something like that. I think, in my point of view, I think this addresses it, and this gets us moving forward. The only thing I did have, and I talked to Jason, is concession stand rental. And I had an issue with somebody, and I take the men's hockey tournament, where they open the concession stand for those 2 or 3 days. And right now it's free, but it's gonna go to $100, and, go to $100, proposed to go to $100. I know that people at that hockey tournament were excited that the concession stand was open. And I don't think selling hot dogs and popcorn, whatever, you make a whole lot of money. So I wasn't happy with the $100, but Jason, do you want to speak to what
Yeah,
we discussed?
the intent behind that was if a local business wanted to set up shop there. So I think the way to fix what you're saying is if you're renting out the facility, as part of that, you could use that room to sell your hot dogs or whatever. If a local restaurant wanted to set up because it was a busy weekend, I think there has to be a cost associated with that rental, because they would be conducting business. So that was the thought process behind the rental fee.
Okay, yeah, and that was one of the things I had an issue with. And also the issue was the golf going up 15%, but it was also seniors rate that we never had before. So seniors is 65 and over. It's not 50 years old. Only the senior professional tour is 50. It's 65 years old, older, and older, and I think that's giving them the seniors discount trade-off. The adults that are working and that can afford to pay are going to pay a little bit more, still substantially less than other municipalities, but we are giving the seniors a discounted rate on the increase. So I think that was a good trade-off. Go ahead, Jay.
And that was kind of the thought process behind all of this, is that we wanted to make sure that our youth and our seniors were still able to participate in this and it would be affordable. Certainly the youth, because we want to make sure that they are, you know, going to be playing hockey or golfing. So in regards to the adult annual, golf was an area where, and you're going to hear from local citizens who say that, you know, we need to invest more money in our golf course and we need to see improvements. Well, we have to increase our fees, right? We have to be able to get the money to do those repairs that people are gonna want. We're doing repairs to the golf course. We're doing repairs to the equipment. We need to see that increase in revenue. At the same time, understanding that, you know, seniors, and I've heard from this room, seniors on a fixed income or the youth should have a bit of a discounted rate. The other thing we tried to fix too was just the issues regarding the twilight fees and the morning fees. And we're trying to be more fair and consistent with what we're charging users during that time, as well as giving people an opportunity for tournament fees. We have a lot of businesses, whether it be private or the hospital or whoever, they do a lot of tournaments, and we want to make sure that there's a discounted rate there because it's used a lot, and we appreciate them bringing that business in. So we're also proposing tournament fees, which are rounded up so that, you know, it's a $20 fee, so that the people who are organizing these events, it's easy for them to collect it. And I'll tell you, our pro shop staff did a great job this year of making sure we had those lists ahead of time. We were making sure that everybody was paying, and that, you know, there's always a handful who try not to pay, and we've done a great job of taking care of that as well. So the golf, I think, was the one where we took a closer look, and as Mayor Ferguson said, even with the I think it's a 22% increase for the adult annual membership, still substantially lower than any of the region, for sure. And we are looking at doing the cart compound expansion this year. Everyone has carts. We're going to make sure that we have a lot more room there. And like I said, for the first time in many years, we have all 6 of our rental carts up and running, and we're going to keep them running until we have a plan to start replacing them as well. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. So it's 10% plus 2% every year after that, or?
So we're proposing right now, like I said, between a 10 and 15% right across the board. Our intent is to come to council annually and to request amount. Now, what that amount is absolutely up to you guys. What we're saying is we don't want to go another 8 years before we increase those rates again.
Okay.
And that's across the board, right across the whole municipality, right? Is looking at those annual increases.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Stimson.
Yeah, I like the idea you're giving seniors a break on them, but there's some seniors who are saying, how come I have to pay for that? I don't even use it. You know, I'm too old. I can't use the pool. I don't use the pool. I don't use the arena. I don't use all this. And their attitude is, why should my tax money be going to something that I don't use? But I guess we just have to keep it going, or you know.
Yeah, well, we can't really have an a la carte tax rate where, you know, I'm a golfer, so I pay higher taxes. I don't use anything. It's part of being in a community that, you know,
But
maybe they don't use it now, but maybe they used it 20 years, or their kids use it, or
and they paid for it all them 20 years.
Pardon me?
Their taxes paid for it all them 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, well, unless you want to go 100% increase for user fees and then we lower our tax rate, we could
I don't want
do
to
that as
anything
well.
silly like that. Yeah, but
Well, you know what I mean? It's got to come from somewhere, right? There's got to be a balance. Everybody pays a little to keep these facilities going.
that's not a little.
I think to Councillor Simpson's point, I think that we're doing exactly what you're saying. I think we're trying to create more of a user pay system so that the person's tax dollars, less of that is going to these facilities. We are trying to increase these rates so that it is the people using it to reduce that cost. So you're not wrong. It's just we're never going to get to a point where it's going to be completely funded, right?
No.
But by increasing the user fees, we are trying to take it off the backs of the taxpayers who maybe not necessarily use those specific recreation items, but more of a user pay system.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm getting at. It's it shouldn't be a tax base.
In a roundabout way, this is what we're trying to do with the increase in fees.
Trying to address that.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Sean.
Thanks, Mayor Ferguson. I would go with the 15%, and in regards to what Brian is commenting about too, also, these facilities also are used when you're trying to recruit new families to the community, physicians to the community. Maybe I'm not the best golfer, I do use it periodically, so I expect it to be through my taxes, but my children do use some of these facilities as well. So I think we have to take that into consideration when people come back for, say, the Bass Tournament. Maybe some of them do go out and do a round of golf if they're here for a week. So it kind of has to balance out, I think.
Yeah. And that's why exactly when we looked at it, we thought Bunnell, you know, out-of-town people, the golf course, high use, we were recommending for the most part the 15%, again 10% for the youth. With the arena and the pool, we recommended a 10% increase just because of the demographics of the people that use it. It's the local people, it's the children, it's the seniors, and we had recommended 10%. So that's kind of how we went through between the 10 and the 15. And then, like I said, the only one that really fell outside of that was the adult membership golf.
Are you going to round all these figures off?
So typically we don't post our fees inclusive of HST. We do it separately. But again, there's language in Brandy's report that says certain ones are, you know, rounded for ease of cash transactions.
48.32.
Yeah. When you put your 13%, I mean, there's still an ability to kind of round things off in that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Whoops. I like the 10, I like the 15% increase. Maybe in future years, instead of doing 2% across the board, whatever the property taxes go up, if they go up 3%, then user fees go up 3%. Use that as a guideline possibly, just throwing that out there. To Councillor Stimpson's concern about Burnell Park, double the fees over there, and then that problem takes care of itself. You're not competing with anybody, and if we do, we make a lot of money at it. Yeah, and the seniors will be a lot harder on the golf course because they have more time to go golfing than the working guys, so maybe they should pay more.
Yeah,
That's it.
But it is, because I question that same thing too, and we are still very, very competitive, and our fees are lower than most places, so I think it was a good trade-off going higher on the adults, the working adults, and still going up, but not as much for the seniors. I think that was a really good trade-off myself. I was comfortable with that.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Just one other thing. I think, like Liz, Councillor Shine alluded to, you know, these things are like a lost leader for our community. They're kind of a value-added service. You know, you're thinking about moving here and we have all these things, and yeah, we're not making any money, but, you know, maybe people will come here because of what we have, and the fees are affordable and it's easy to get around the town. So that's it. Thanks.
Thanks. And anybody that's been on council with me knows that I talk about these fees on a pretty regular basis. So I got to give Jason and Brandy and the rest of the staff kudos for getting this done. And, you know, we could go through every line item and think, should it be 8%? Should it be 9%? But I think this is a pretty good benchmark. And, you know, I'd like to pass this sooner than later and get this in place. And it does take a little bit off the taxpayers. And I think we have to remember next time when our budget process comes that we did raise fees. So hopefully we can think about that when we're setting our tax rate, that maybe we won't need to raise the taxes as much if we're collecting user fees. So that was kind of my whole thought on this.
So just to wrap it up, and I noticed Randy had missed the Charleston Recreation area. So again, because that's out of town users coming in, I would treat that like bundle. We would recommend a 15% increase on that. And then the other thing is that what we have done in the past, and we are discussing with the user groups again, is so the minor hockey nets, instead of billing them specifically, because there's a lot of times where last minute cancellations are a little bit extra, that we're doing kind of an average of what they use in a season, and then we do kind of give them a bit of a discount on that as well, and that's been well received. And there's a little bit less administration and tracking that way, and it seems to work. So I would request that we would continue doing that sort of flat rate billing for those user groups over at the arena. And then again, what I'm looking for today is a general nod from council that these rates are in the right neighborhood of what you're looking for. It'll help certainly the registration nights getting ready for the 9th with their posters and the user groups, and then we will have a draft fees bylaw for September 8th to be passed. Yeah. Yes.
Councilor Stimpson?
I'm just wondering what brought the 15% increase to Charleston, to the Charleston Recreation. You said 15%?
Yeah, so looking similar to...
We don't supply them with very much up there when those ladies come from out of town with their horses.
But it's camping, right? So for us, there's the corrals.
For everything there.
Well, there's the corrals, there's the showers, there's the washrooms, and there is a cost, the power.
Are we opening the washrooms for them now?
Absolutely, they're always open, yeah.
Well, they weren't one time.
No, we've changed it. We have community partners that are helping us. We have punch locks, so we're not worried about keys like on a Saturday morning or something like that. So we've done some good things in regards to being available for them. And I believe so far this year, we haven't had a situation where everything's been closed while they've been there.
So if people come from Thunder Bay just for the weekend, you'll go out and open up the washrooms for them?
So they book through one of our user groups, and then they send us an email. We make sure that our maintenance guy has the facilities open and ready for them.
One time I even had to ask to get the lights turned on for them at night.
Yeah, and we lost a lot of revenue as well, right? So what we do now is we do an e-transfer.
I just wondered why 15% and the other places went up 10? That's,
Because I compared to bundle, so it is a camping, it's the same as bundle. You have a washroom and you have power. Up there, you have a washroom, showers, you have power, and you have the added benefit of the corrals for the horses.
that's fine.
So, and they're out-of-town users. We talk about non-residents, so we believe that 15% would be, again, it is your fee. I mean, if you think as is or 10%, I mean, that's absolutely fine. I'm just letting you know that from administration standpoint, that's kind of how we come to that.
I think Councillor Martin can attest, if you can afford a horse, you could afford to pay a little bit extra.
That's probably the cheapest part of the horse.
Not when everything he owns was destroyed by a fire.
So I guess I'm looking for the majority of council. Are we on the right track here? Is this what you want us to move forward with?
I think, just a show of hands, are we on the right path?
Sure. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Well, I knew there'd be a discussion on that, because there's a lot of information and it's gone a long time. And I'd just like to reiterate again that by making more user pays, that we hopefully our tax increase will reflect. Need to increase as much. Next up is update from the AMO conference, Mayor Ferguson. So yes, Jason and I traveled to Ottawa for the AMO conference August 16th, got home on the 20th. A lot of great things. We had delegations with the Minister of Energy was the one that really highlighted for us. We put in for a delegation and we got the Associate Minister. Jason got a notice or a request a few weeks later that they didn't want to meet with the Associate Minister. Stephen Lecce, the Minister of Energy, wanted to meet with us personally. So it was very good. It was very good meeting. The resolution that we passed saying that we were interested in being a host community for energy products or projects really hit some notes with the minister and other people, saying that Atikokan was interested. Again, interested in listening. We're not green lighting any energy project or anything, but saying that we are open to energy projects. As we heard at NOMA, that the need for energy, electricity in the northern Ontario is going to go up 80% by 2050. One number that I threw at the minister is on a cold winter night in January, we use 600 megawatts of electricity in northwestern Ontario. So saying it's going up 80%, we're going to need another 500 megawatts of electricity in northwestern Ontario. So where we're not going to get that by some solar panels or things. It's going to be some bigger energy projects. And with the Waasigan line coming through, we're going to be able to move that electricity out. So Atikokan was looked very favorably on energy, potential energy projects, and keeping the Atikokan generating station going well into the future as well. So those were two real key things that came out. At the ISO meeting, they give Atikokan a shout out by name, saying that we're a very progressive community, passing the resolution and moving forward on this, and saying that the only way we're going to hit these numbers of extra generation is if the municipalities step up and become willing hosts, and they called out Atikokan as a willing host. So that was really really good. We got a lot of good, got a lot of really good press and people talked a lot about energy projects coming to Atikokan, and I think the economic development has already heard somebody reaching out for some information since we've been at that meeting. So that was really interesting. We met with Hydro One. Hydro One is very happy with our topics that we were talking about using their community benefit money with, and we talked to the Minister of Northern Development and Mines, George Peary. He was very open to what we were talking about, and we give him a heads up that we would be putting our requests for grants in. He said, you know, we had a really good talk, and he said he would be watching for that. And Jason, if you want to speak about the discussion you had with the AMO people with the investment opportunities.
Oh, so yeah, they're LAS Investment One. So they've been on us for years. They do a lot of good work in regards to helping municipalities invest their generally their reserve funds, and we haven't done a lot of work in that regard. So there was some good information about that. It's just like, you know, do you leave your savings money in your savings account, or do you put it in a GIC sort of thing, right? So I think there's some opportunities for us there, and I think if I could, I think acknowledging that, you know, going to Ottawa or to these conferences is there's a significant expense to it, and we see communities of smaller size and up to the larger cities. But it's a great opportunity to meet people. I mean, we were actually out on the street and ran into our federal minister, Patty Hajdu, and had a great kind of casual conversation with her just on the sidewalk, right? And then she ended up attending our NOMA board meeting the very next day. So I think these conversations that we have with these people, it's very important, and there's a lot of good opportunities at the conference. Thank you.
Okay, has anybody got any questions? Oh, and it's busy times. You know, breakfast is at 7:15 or 7:30, and it goes till 11 o'clock at night, event. So it's pretty tiring days, actually. That's all. Oh, yes, Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Was there any talk of four-laning the Trans-Canada?
Lots of talk about that, yeah.
Okay.
For in both directions. Because Nipigon, talking from Thunder Bay to Nipigon, I think there's a couple sections left to complete, and they're working on that. And then they're also working on Kenora to Winnipeg side. But they also talked about that
2+1.
2+1, where it's like extended passing lanes, where you're going to have a two lane on your side for 5 kilometers, and it goes 2-lane on the other side. I'm not really, to me, more passing lanes might be better, but this is something they're talking about a lot.
We call those speed up lanes, because when everybody hits that, they all speed up, and nobody passes.
But there's a pilot project for the 2+1 in northeastern Ontario, and I think the reason they like it is because they can take the existing roadway and then tweak it so that they can do the 2+1, so that it's not like a divided highway. Obviously, is very, very expensive, and there's certain areas where they have to do that. But I know there's a European model for the 2+1. They're trying to follow that, and there might be some opportunities there.
Okay, so that's unless anybody has any more questions, we'll move in camera, and we will be coming out of in camera. Okay, moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Lyons. Resolved that this council committee proceed in camera in order to address a matter pertaining to a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on behalf of the municipality or local board. In favor? Going in camera? Carried?
Just give us a second so we can make sure that the Zoom meeting is paused.
Okay, so we are now out of in camera, and we have a resolution moved by Councilor Stimson, seconded by Councilor Shine. Resolved that Atikokan Town Council authorizes administration to finalize the agreement with Sanexon with a bylaw to enter into an agreement with them to be presented at a future council meeting. In favor? Carried. Last resolution, moved by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Lyons, resolved that this meeting do now adjourn. In favor? Carried. Meeting closed.